Toaster is like weirdly between his bed and, oh, actually he's on a pillow. He's so strange. Hey everyone, it's Natalie, also known as Knitty Natty. Welcome to episode 138 of the Love and Stitches podcast. Today is Monday, April 25th, I think. I have no idea. But it is an overcast day. Kind of cool. It's kind of one of those like windows open kind of days. And I'm fine for it because I am so tired after a huge weekend at the New Jersey Wool Walk. I was gone most of the day, pretty much all day Saturday, most of the day Sunday. Got home at like dinner time and I was so sleepy today. Even though I got like a good night's sleep, like I took care of myself, I went to bed early, I got 8 hours of sleep. Toaster? Come here, Toaster. Anyway, like I was saying, I'm just recovering from an amazing weekend, but exhausting weekend, and had to take a nap, and now I'm awake and ready to go. But I feel like I'm gonna have to take another nap, maybe later. We are gonna do a stash update today because it's the last week of the month. I have a whole vlog on the wool walk that was posted previously, but I am going to talk really briefly about the yarn that I got just in the stash update, but not go through every single skein, just as an FYI. Okay, I think we should just get started. Here we go. Addressing the elephant in the room, I have a finished object that I am wearing today, and I've already worn it out and about. It's amazing. I love how it turned out. This is the Prismatic Sweater by Wool and Pine Designs. I did make some changes to it, so I am going to talk about it, but here you go. You can see it. It's super cute. Somebody pointed out to me that there are hearts in the color work that I didn't even recognize on this bottom row, that they totally look like hearts. I don't know if they were intended to be hearts or not, but I love that they're pink and I love that they're hearts, and I love that this makes it even more me, and it feels like a Love and Stitches sweater, which is super fun. So the yarn that I used for this was two 75-25 sock yarns. So the gray is Suburban Stitcher Sock and Cinder. The pink is Hooker's Corner in the color Check Yourself. And I'm now gonna get rid of that label that I've been... It just landed in front of Toaster. And like right in front of his face. Sorry, buddy, I didn't mean to throw that at you. He actually likes to chew labels, so I'm gonna keep that over here, but I will be getting rid of that shortly. I have had that label for a long time. I've had that yarn for many, many years. I love it so much. I've gotten it down to like the littlest bit, so I'm probably just gonna throw it into my scrappy blanket. I've used it for 3 projects, so I'm gonna call that good. And then the darker color in here was from a larger skein of Miss Babs Katahdin. I'm not sure the name, but I do have it in my project page linked down below. So all the details are down there. So I changed a couple things about the pattern. First of all, I did a tubular cast on, tubular bind off everywhere there is a bind off or cast on. I just think it looks really nice and finished. I don't know, you can kind of see here, it's got like more of like a rolled edging kind of deal. The other thing that I did is I shortened the sleeves. They are supposed to be long sleeves. I decided that I actually wear my short sleeve sweaters a lot since I'm going into a warm month and I'm kind of just ready to be finished with this project. I was going to do short sleeves and just make that executive decision. That way I could wear it now, I could wear it more of the year, and so on. I actually just get really hot too inside. Even in the winter time, I'm not finding myself wearing long sleeve sweaters very much, so I figured that this would make it even more versatile. So the way that I did that was so easy. I picked up the stitches that I had on hold for the sleeves, followed the directions from the pattern to pick up for the underarm, and then I just did 1 inch of ribbing without changing the stitch count and bound it off with tubular bind off. So it couldn't have been easier because basically in a yoke, you already kind of get like a little bit of a sleeve. You can see that it's like connected right here. There's not much else going on, but I think it proportionally looks quite nice. I did have that issue of kind of like rippling and bubbling here. I think I just picked maybe a little too big of a size. See how it kind of just a little bit now is kind of doing that rippling effect. I think if I had more of a chest, it would kind of like pull that into more of that like circular bit here and even that out. But I did block it once before finishing because I wanted to see if it was fitting. I wanted to see the length, and then I blocked it a second time. When I blocked it a second time, I made sure to like ease the yoke out into more of an arch, whereas before I was pulling it long, and that helped get rid of a lot of the rippling. So if you're experiencing the same thing, maybe try a second blocking, or try blocking where you're being intentional about smoothing those things out. I think now it looks great. I love it. It's super comfortable. I think it fits me nicely. It's oversized, but it's not like too big. I probably could have maybe used a smaller size, but then I don't know how much room I would have had here. So I'm actually really happy with the size. I didn't do any shaping on the body because it's already quite a larger body, and it fits my hips really well for somebody like me who has a smaller bust and larger hips. I just make sure that the bust dimension is at least 2 or so inches wider than my hips, and I know it's going to fit me comfortably without adding any extra shaping. So it turned out great. I am so pleased with it. I wore it on Saturday throughout the wool walk and was super comfortable all day. What was funny is when I came home and I took my sweater off, I realized that I had never gone back and trimmed the ends all the way. So I wove in all the ends and I trimmed the ends like 1 inch long, and then I blocked it. So when you block things, sometimes your ends will kind of like retract, like they'll move, right? Because the fabric is relaxing and growing. So they need a little extra on the end to move. And so I was gonna go back and then trim the ends a little bit more. Completely forgot to do it. So inside the sweater, I have like longish ends everywhere. I don't know if I have any here on the front that I could show you. I don't know, like this long everywhere in the sweater. They're woven in, but they're not sticking out. They're not bothering me. So I'm just gonna leave them well alone. There's no need for me to go cut them shorter, and I think they'll be totally fine. So prismatic sweater is done. Finished. That was one of my goals for this month, is to finish this sweater. So I am super happy to have that checked off my list. Okay, next up, I have been working diligently on my Harlow hat. Okay, so this is Harlow by Andrea Mowry. It's a brioche hat that I have made look, I think, quite different by just using different yarns. But basically, it's just a 2-color brioche hat. And you can see I've done quite a bit since last week. My cute little glittery progress keeper. And my goal was to do 3 inches this week, and I think I just got there. Maybe like a little more than 3 inches. I kind of get something different every time I measure because the brioche is kind of biasing, like it's starting to be diagonal, right? Because all knitting is a spiral. And so when I kind of straighten it out, I feel like it's a different measurement versus on the bias. I don't know. It won't really matter that much when I'm wearing it, as long as I get it long enough here. So 3 inches done this week, and then my goal is to finish it over the rest of the week because I want to get it done by the end of April. And what's nice about April is April ends on a Saturday and the new month starts on a Sunday. So it's like very nice and well-rounded. I feel like it's a nice like start finish to a new month. Let's talk about the yarns here. That's weird. I think I lost, oh here it is. It's like one of my labels is gone. So I am using as the knit yarn mohair held double. So I've split my skein of mohair. I'm holding it double, and that yarn is a Homespun House in the colorway Fresh Sheets. So that's looking really cool. And then my fingering weight yarn, which is kind of exploding here a little bit, is a Zen Garden silk, Serenity silk, superwash merino cashmere, and silk in the colorway Mystical. So these are both stash yarns, so I'm really happy to be getting them used up in the month of April. This was also a stash buster because it was things for my stash, things that I did not have to purchase new, so that feels really good. So I am going to keep carrying on here with the Harlow hat and get that finished up by the end of the week. I think I have to do 2 more inches straight and then start on the crown decreases. I don't know, I might make it a little shorter because it's rather long right now. Like I don't want it, actually it's really long. I'm gonna have to look at that. I might be ready just to start the crown decreases now. Oh, I'm really happy with this. I wonder if it's supposed to fold up. It is, you know, brioche is so cool because it's reversible. I know you can't tell so much in these 2 colors because of the fuzziness, but here, look at the inside and the outside, they look so different. So it's gonna be really fun to wear this hat reversible. So you know what, maybe I will take a look at the pattern, see if I wanna do a brim or not, and I might be finished with that even sooner than I'm thinking. The other project I have been working on so diligently on my 3, now 2 whips. I'm narrowing things down. I mean, I do have other things, but they're kind of on hold. So I don't have to think about them. But I have been working on my outstanding shawl, and I started on the color work this week. Oh yeah, got my Reese's cup. Who is that? Why is her name slipping my mind? Whitney Marie Anderson is the maker of those sweet candies. Anyway, I did quite a bit on the color work last week. I am really, really pleased with how this is looking. So I am using my kit from Yarnia. It's the signature colorway kit. So it's got pink for me and orange for Yarnia because we are putting on the spring shawl cowl together, which by the way, we are having an event on Thursday. So if you're watching the podcast during the day, make sure to go over to the Yarnia channel tonight at 6 p.m. because we are doing an interview with Christie Archer. If you're watching this later, then make sure to watch the recording because we're going to interview this designer. I picked the orange to go first, so I'm going to have 1 more orange stripe than pink, and that will allow me enough yarn to use pink for my border of the shawl. But I think it's looking really, really good. And my plan for this, because I'm very like planned on my whips right now, is to finish the color work section this week so I can start on the hem next week. And I am actually like exactly halfway through on this color work because I'm like halfway through the 5th repeat and there's 9. So I'm exactly halfway through. So I'm probably gonna do like 1 repeat per day and then have this all done for this week. So the yarn I'm using for this is Madeline Tosh and Tosh Sock. The main color is Modern Fair Isle. That's the neutral. And then the orange and pink are Grapefruit and Geranium. And I don't know for sure, but I think the pink's Geranium and I think the orange is Grapefruit. Not 1000% sure on that, but pretty sure. So those are all of my projects. Well, that's not true. I have one other thing that I actually have been working on, but I have one unknit project to do. Actually, it's an uncrochet project. So last week I showed you my notebook with my plans for the rest of April. I wanted to get this sweater done, check. I wanted to get the Harlow hat done, did the 3 inches I wanted to do last week, just need to finish this week, and that one's checked off the list. I have the float tote, which I'm not planning to work on right now because it's more of a design and I'm setting that to the side. I had one other project on there, my party punch shawl, which I have decided to take off the list. I'm going to frog it. I only worked on this for 1 day on my birthday. I started it. It's really cool, actually. So this is the Party Punch Shawl by Toni Lipsey. I'm taking it out not because I don't like the project, but because I'm just not interested in working on this right now. It's Tunisian crochet, which is a brand new skill for me. And in order for me to work on it, I have to really focus. I had a lot of fun casting it on that first day and learning the new techniques and even working them. It is actually now at an easy part, but I just know that I'm not gonna do it right now. So I would rather take this out. I am putting this yarn back into stash. With other things where I'm using up part of the yarn, I'm not putting it back into stash. But because I didn't actually use this yarn, I am putting it back into stash. So I'm gonna get the label. Where did it go actually? I pulled it out somewhere. I'm gonna get the label. Oh, here it is. It's Wanderluck Yarns. I love the yarn. Love the yarn, love the pattern. I'm just not having a good time with it right now. It's just not the right thing for me to work on right now. And I'm actually about to start another crochet project that's gonna take all of my space for like new things because I'm gonna do crochet color work. And so I need something to go. And this is gonna go, I barely started it. I worked on it for one day. It's silly that I'm even holding on to it for now. So here we go. It's coming out. And yes, you can't even see it unravel, which is like the fun part. Yes, I can and probably will go back to this one day and I can make the exact same thing, or I can use this yarn for something else, use a different yarn for the pattern. I totally love it. Nothing against the yarn, nothing against the pattern. I just know I'm not working on it right now, and it's silly to have this sit, something I worked on for 2 hours, just sit in my whip basket, taunting me every time I open it up. We're gonna put the yarn back into stash and consider it crossed off the list. So a little uncrochet this week. I've worked on one more thing. I have been working on a new pattern. So before I said I was going to retest the float tote next, I'm making changes to my float tote patterns. I have a bunch of different versions. The pattern is great. There's nothing wrong with the pattern. I'm just going to be adding some things and tweaking some things. And I said that was going to be my next pattern ready for testing and publishing. But I've actually changed my mind, and I'm now going to be working on a different pattern that's a brand new pattern that I've been wanting to bring to life for years. It makes way more sense to me to work on this new pattern and complete it before going back and tweaking a pattern that is actually already done. It's kind of like I'm doing these exercises in perfectionism and realizing that I'm actually a little scared, I guess, to work on this new pattern. And so instead I'm just like overworking on something I've already done, still planning to come back and work on the float tote pattern again. So that's not going anywhere. It's just shifting in priority. And instead, I have been working on my crochet yarn cozies. So we have the knit yarn cozy. Actually, I have one right here. Hold on. These are the knit yarn cozies. Yarn Cozy Lite. This is one of the versions. And you can take a 100-gram cake, place it inside, and it's a cozy. It's a cozy for your yarn. And it's great because you can pull from the center. This can deflate and it keeps it contained and organized till nearly the very end. They're very effective and they work quite well. And so I have been wanting to make a crochet version for so long. I've had this like in the works and have not actually just brought it, like finished it, you know? So I am really excited about this pattern. So this is actually what's going to be coming up next. So if you are interested in testing this, there's going to be some changes to it. Like that's going to be going away. I'm working on, this is just my first draft. So if you're interested in test crocheting the Crochet Yarn Cozy Lite, look for a tester call on my Instagram next week. I'm going to be opening that up. I'll have all the details and dates and stuff. When I do the tester call, don't worry, I'm not going to leave any details out, so look for that stuff then. But I have been working on these. I'm really, really excited about them. And then the float tote will come at a later date. So that is officially all of the projects that I have been working on. Let's do a stash update. This stash update is completely different from all the ones I've done already this year because instead of going down in number for the first time, we have actually gone up. And not only have we gone up, we are back. Well, actually, you know what? I'll just tell you the numbers. So here's where we fared at the end of March. At the end of March, I had 36 intact skeins in my stash. So if you have not been following this journey, let me catch you up really quickly. I have a video that I did in January, cleaning and organizing my stash, where I made a goal of eliminating my stash this year in 2022. By December of 2022, I want to eliminate my stash. Lots of reasons for that, but I'll link the video. You can go back and watch that and kind of see the whole thought process. By no means do I think this should be like the ultimate goal for everyone. Stash is so personal. In fact, I'm going to be teaching about that this weekend. I'll talk more about that in news, but this is my goal right now, and I reserve the right to change my mind at any time when it is going to make sense for me. So let's talk about this. I made that goal in January. I had a lot of projects that I needed to finish up in January, so I really started like intentionally choosing stash projects in February. And since then, at the end of every month, the last podcast of every month, I'm doing a stash update, and I'm going to do that throughout this year because my goal is to eliminate stash by the end of the year. So at the end of March, I had 36 intact skeins left in my stash. I'm not counting scraps or leftovers. I'm not counting like even half skeins. If I've worked with the skein, it does not go back into stash, although I'm not getting rid of it. I'm kind of imagining right now that there will be a point next year where I maybe shift into just using up scraps and leftovers, but I'm not letting that stress me out right now because my only goal right now is to attack my stash. And for me, stash is my intact whole skeins that have not been used. There were a few skeins that I did count as stash. I'll actually show some of those in a second that are not completely intact, but they're basically never been put into a project. Like I use them and rip the project out like I just did with this one. So that's why this one's going back into stash. So end of March, I had 36 skeins. As of right now, I have either 49 or 48. When I do the math with how many I've used up and added, I get 49. But when I actually go over to my stash and count, I get 48. So I'm kind of confused where that one skein went. This is not a perfect process, but at the very least, we know that the stash has gone up. So here's what's happened. In this month of April, I have used up 2 skeins and added 15 skeins, most of which have happened in the last 24 hours. And so that is a net of 13 plus skeins. So 36 plus 13 is 49 skeins. Again, I go over to my stash and I've got a video here. I can show you what it's looking like now. I'm doing like a video and a photo every month, and you can definitely tell that I have added to my stash. So 49 is exactly where I started at the beginning of the year in January. So I'm actually back up to my original number. Yes, this is very interesting, and I'm actually not freaking out right now. I still feel like I can eliminate my stash by the end of the year. I'm actually not really worried or upset with myself. I did not have a goal to not purchase anything. I think that's where we can get ourselves in trouble, is by saying like, I'm not going to buy any yarn until I use up all of my stash, or if I can't buy a single skein of yarn until I use up 2 skeins of stash, and we trap ourselves in something that's unrealistic, so that when we don't follow our own rules, we have an excuse to not do it anymore. We're like, oh, well, I messed it up. Now I don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm free, you know? And so I didn't have that rule for myself to not buy anything, but I didn't feel like buying anything until this weekend. And I went on the New Jersey Wool Walk and I got a bunch of yarn, and I am very excited about each and every skein, and I am like ready to cast on the thing today. I'm not going to, because I know I get overwhelmed when I have too many projects, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be casting one on in the month of May. So let's talk a little bit more, and then I'll kind of come back to the whole mindset thing, because I know there's people who are probably like, what's the point then? Why are you even trying to eliminate if you're just gonna buy more things? I will get there. Okay. I'm gonna need lots of water for this apparently. Let's talk about projects from Stash in April. So April, like 3rd or something, I finished up a Stash project, which was this pair of socks. It was a single skein of yarn. There was leftovers, but that didn't count going back into Stash. However, I'd already counted that. As soon as I start the project, I count it as out of Stash. And so I had already subtracted that from Stash. So now that is out. I think that's right. That's why I'm getting confused. Maybe that's where my 1 came from, but I did finish this in the month of April, but I had already counted it out of Stash. The other project that was from Stash is this one. I didn't end up using every single skein. I actually should have brought that over, but I have 6 of these gray skeins. 2 of them are still completely intact in the Stash shelf, and they are counted in my Stash. But I think 4 of them were like used in a sweater and then unraveled, and I did not use all 4 of them. However, I'm not counting those back into Stash. So that's gonna be 4 skeins out of my Stash, if that makes sense. These were leftovers, so I didn't really count these. Like altogether, this sweater is just counting as 4 skeins. That's how I'm counting it. It's not a perfect science, but that is what's happening here. So 1 skein for the socks, 4 for the sweater, but that actually had already been counted too because I already started the project prior to April. So the only thing that was brand new that I started out of Stash this month was my Harlow hat. And that is going to use up 2 Stash skeins, that mohair and the other one. So that's where I get my -2 for the month, using up 2 skeins from Stash, even though I finished 2 other things as well in April. So adding into Stash this month, I added in last week, I got a skein of yarn from Knitty City that I am going to use to make my tessellation tee. I'll talk about that in a second for upcoming projects. I had that as an upcoming project when I talked about this at the beginning of this month, or I guess at the end of March, and I still haven't started it yet, but it's still in the plans. So I added 1 skein for that project. So that's 1. And then yesterday and Saturday, when I went on the New Jersey Wool Walk, I bought, how many did I buy? 13 new skeins. Is that right? Yeah, 13 new skeins of yarn. So I do have in detail in the New Jersey Wool Walk video. At the end, I go through every single skein, talk about what it is and what I'm going to use it for, but I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to really quickly show you. I got 1, 2 of these, and each of these are 2 skeins, so that's another 4, 2 of these, this, and 4 of these to make a sweater. I didn't even bring them all over, but you can see in that Stash video all of those yarns. So yes, that is a total of 13 from the yarn crawl, 1 to add into the sweater, and then 1 to add back into Stash. So that's where I got 15 yarns total back into Stash this month. It's a lot. I need another sip of water. Exhaustion and dehydration from Stash hunting over the weekend. No, that's a little bit silly. Okay, so I am, again, not super concerned. Actually, I'm not concerned at all about this. I did make intentional purchases, and I actually am proud of myself for the way that I shopped this weekend. And so not having that serious, like, I cannot buy anything, so therefore anything that I buy breaks my rules, is really freeing, because I got to make purchases this weekend and still see that I am growing from how I used to make purchases without feeling like I've messed up everything for my Stash. So the way I was thinking this weekend that was a little bit differently is I said to myself, I do not have to buy anything at the store. if I am going to buy something, it doesn't have to be yarn. And then I would think, my goal this year is to eliminate stash. So if I'm adding something to my stash, it needs to be something that I am super excited about, that I have plans for, and that I want to make right now. Because my goal with getting rid of all of my stash is that whenever I do purchase yarn, I'll have that feeling and I will be making purchases and starting things without it really sitting in my cubbies and becoming stash at all. That's the dream. Again, I reserve the right to change my mind. This is an experiment for this year. As I'm working through things, I might change my mind in the future and need a different functionality for my stash. And this is just what I'm trying. Do whatever works for you. If you have a goal of building up a beautiful stash that looks like a yarn store because you need inspiration to pull from, that's more than okay. Anyway, I'm getting too into like what I'm going to be teaching this weekend, which I'm so excited about, but no stash is alike, no stash goals are alike, and yours does not have to be the same as mine for us to like talk about it and share ideas and benefit from talking about it. So I don't feel guilty. I am not worried. I still feel like I'm going to get rid of stash and get rid of all my stash by the end of the year. Actually, as I was putting away the new stash, I was seeing some things in my stash that I'm actually ready to let go of now that I don't really think that I'm going to work with. And I have so many avenues. I think I'm fortunate to have different avenues to like get rid of stash without just like donating it or throwing it away. Like I don't want to be wasteful at all. So I am thinking about how I can use my stash yarn, perfectly good intact yarn, in giveaways or to give to people who are learning or to donate, etc. But anyway, there's probably a few more things I'm now ready to let go of now that I've pulled in new stuff to my stash that is very me. I'm able to see what's not so me. And some of that is not things that I bought anyway, so it kind of makes sense why they're not my favorite things. Okay. I do have some plans to start powering through this stash because we got to start working it down. I did not get rid of a lot in April and I got a whole lot more, but you know what? I've done a lot of knitting. I finished a sweater. I've been making a shawl. I'm designing. I'm not going to beat myself up about it. May is a new month and I have some plans. So let's talk about those. So here is an example of some of the stash yarn that is not actually intact skeins, but I did count it when I initially did my stash count in January. This was a sweater that was a complete sweater and I unraveled completely. Therefore, there's no finished objects out of this yarn. So this is a stash yarn. I am counting it as 4 skeins. It almost seems like 5. I don't know if this is 4 or 5. I don't remember. This is why my numbers are getting off, but as long as the number is moving, oh well. So this is a great yarn. It's Madeline Tosh in copper pink, and I am planning to use it with this beautiful yarn that I just got, Malabrigo Sock in Eggplant. So it's actually a purple. It's a really dark purple. They're going to be so pretty together, and I am planning to make the Tessellation Tee by Stephanie Aaron. So hopefully we have a picture here for you so you can see what that looks like. That will get rid of at least 5 skeins because I think it's at least 4 plus this, which is new stash. So 5 skeins down if I finish that one up or even start that one. Again, as I'm starting something, it's out of my stash. So I'm considering that good and knowing that I will finish the thing. So I'm really excited. That's actually going to be my next cast on here because I'm done with this sweater now. I'm ready to start another garment. So I'm really excited about that. Then some of the brand new stash that I have, actually 6 skeins of it are going to be used in a sweater. So I think that's another reason why I'm not super stressed about these 15 new skeins coming in. I know for sure 6 of them are about to come out right now because I'm using them for a sweater. So these 2 yarns from Chelsea Luxe, they're so pretty, are going to be used together. I've got 2 of these and 4 of these, so 6 in total. I'm gonna hold them together and make this oversized, kind of sweatshirty, oversized thing called Something Cozy by Shayna Billow. So it was designed for these yarns together, and Christina the dyer of Chelsea Lux, had this on when we saw her at the trunk show. And so I am eager to go get that started. It also might be started this week, honestly. Like, I'm so excited to start it. And my friend Amy is also making one. So I think we're just gonna like get them started together. It's on like a huge needle. So hopefully that will go really, really fast. And that will be a nice knitting project to have. Maybe after I finish my Harlow hat, I will reward myself with that cast on. The last thing that I'm planning and to start in the month of May that will also use stash is some type of brioche project. I actually haven't picked out the pattern yet, but in our Love and Stitches membership, we are doing a brioche challenge for the month of May and June. We spent this month, April, working on basic brioche stitches, which was my Harlow hat project, and I want to finish that up so then on May 1st, I can start my brioche challenge project, which is just a challenge to start by May 1st and finish by the end of June, any project with brioche in it. So again, I haven't picked anything out, but I will probably be looking at Leslie Ann Robinson's designs because I just love her brioche designs. And I bought these two skeins of yarn last year when I was on the Brooklyn yarn crawl. So I've had them in stash for about a year. They're not yarns from Brooklyn. Actually, Trey Liz is from, where is she from? I want to say she's not even in the States, but I could be wrong. But anyway, I bought these two to use together. Single ply fingering weight yarns. I think they'll be so pretty in a brioche project, subtle but beautiful. And so I am planning to pick something out and use these two skeins, and that will be another two skeins out of stash. So if things go well, which I have higher hopes for May than I do for April, because April I just had things I needed to finish, I will have 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, which is how many skeins I bought this weekend. So I will be back to almost where I was at the beginning of this month. There's also, well, I just don't want to overwhelm myself with projects, but I did buy this skein with socks for a friend in mind. So there's a small chance that I will start those soon just because it would be nice to have something really simple on the needles like socks instead of like a crazy mohair sweater or crochet color work or anything that takes my focus. So who knows, maybe I'll have even more than that on the needles for May. So that's the plan here for the next month. Back up to either 48 or 49, not 100% sure. Definitely on the upside this month, but I'm not worried about it and I'm excited to get to tackling my stash again in May. Okay, we have some news this week. First off, there is a brand new video all about the New Jersey Wool Walk. That's where I bought all of those amazing skeins of yarn. And in the New Jersey Wool Walk vlog, I take you along with me to 9 of the 20 stores that are part of the New Jersey Wool Walk, which is a yarn crawl, and show you around in those stores. And then at the end, I sit down and show you in detail each of the yarns that I purchased and talk about the shops a little bit more. So that just came out on Tuesday. If you haven't had the chance to watch it yet, I'll link it down below. I think it's one of our best videos. I always love doing like yarn store tours and stuff like that. People seem to really enjoy those. And I get messages from people saying like, I don't have a local yarn store near me to actually go into. So it's nice to see what's in shops. And most of the shops that I show will take orders by phone, or sometimes they even have an online shop set up. So if you are somewhere, at least within the United States, there is the great possibility that you can kind of shop locally, but in another area. So there were so many good shops in that New Jersey Wool Walk, and it continues through May 1st, just in case you're watching on Thursday, you're in New Jersey and you don't have weekend plans, go hit up a few of the shops. There were so many great things going on. We are continuing our spring shawl cowl. It's going into May now. We're going all the way to almost the end of May till May 26th. and we are knitting the Outstanding Shawl by Christie Archer. It's not too late to join in. You don't have to use any particular yarn. You can use stash, but if you like these yarns, I'm not sure. I'll have to, actually, I should have checked with Yarnia when I was there on Saturday, but I know they were still selling kits, at least when I talked to them. So it's not too late to join us. It's not a super time consuming shawl. I'm taking my time with it, but people are already finished. So if you want to join us and then knit the whole thing in the next month, you still have time. By the time that this comes out, I should have now the submission form. So if you have finished your shawl, you'll be able to submit your name and your shawl for prizes, which we are going to draw on May 26th when we do our final live, we're calling it something, but now I can't remember. When we close out everything, I think we're calling it closing ceremonies. We're going to close everything out and let some of y'all join us on Zoom and YouTube to show off your finished shawls. But this week, actually on Thursday, April 28th, so it may be just in time for you to join us, or you may have missed it live but can go back and watch it, the recording. We're doing an interview with Christie Archer, who is the designer of the Outstanding Shawl. It's going to be myself and Kathleen from Yarnia. It's going to be not on my channel, but on the Chronicles of Yarnia YouTube channel. So make sure you're subscribed to them. We are hosting this knit along together. And so we are kind of switching off back and forth who is hosting online. So we're going to be over at the Chronicles of Yarnia YouTube channel for the interview this Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. So join us live, or you can watch the replay. It will be up there. Okay, coming up this weekend on April 30th. Actually, I think it starts on Thursday, the 28th. I know it's going on the 29th, but my class is on Saturday, April 30th, so that's the date that's in my head. But I am participating as a teacher in an event by Floxy called Neon Spring. So Floxy is an online platform where they're hosting basically virtual knit and crochet fiber retreats. There's classes, there's vendors. You can buy a marketplace ticket for, I think, $12.50, and that gets you access to the online vendors and to the demo classes. I'm teaching a demo class, and so there's basically all day long, there's classes going on that you can just join into and watch. It's amazing. And then there are other a la carte classes that are on more specific things that they have amazing teachers from all over teaching those classes. It's really cool. So I will link Floxy's website, but the event coming up right now is Neon Spring. They're of course doing more and they do things all the time, but the one I'm participating in is this weekend. So the class that I am teaching is a demo class. So if you have a marketplace ticket, you're able to join in. You don't have to sign up specifically for my class. Just make sure you get onto Floxy and log in to the demo classes at 3 p.m. on Saturday, April 30th. And I'm going to be teaching a 1-hour demo called Spring Cleaning, how to declutter and organize your yarn stash and tools. So I'm going to be sharing all of my tips and tricks for making your stash the way that you want it to be. Again, everyone's goals are different, so I'm going to be kind of walking you through how to think about that, giving you some strategies for organizing and decluttering, and then if we have time, I want to actually take somebody that's there live and help them organize something. So we're gonna see, it's gonna be fun. I always like to do interactive stuff on in my classes, so come and join. It should be great. I'm really excited about that. So again, the website's down below if you want to sign up to get a marketplace ticket so you can join in the demo. Real quickly, I know that Maryland Sheep and Wool is coming up. It's May 7th and 8th, I believe. And I know there's some events on Friday the 6th. I'm hoping to be there. Of course, Maryland is not in the state that I live in. I'm in New York City. So we have to figure out rental car, hotel, toaster, all of that stuff. But we're pretty sure that we're gonna at least come for Saturday, but stay tuned. So I just wanted to mention that in case you will be there. I may be there, and if I am there, I would love to meet you. Last thing, just again, the Crochet Yarn Cozy Lite test is going to be opening up. The application will be opening up next week. The test won't begin next week. It will be a while. I'm trying to give myself and my testers lots of time to prepare, because I feel like as a tester, like you may get notified that you're in a test and then be expected to start immediately. And like the timeline of the test may be reasonable if you already had the yarn, the needles cleared off, the mental space or whatever. So I'm trying this new thing where I'm more prepared so that therefore I can allow more time. And so the test won't actually start next week. It will start, I don't know. Again, the details will be all included when you apply for the test, and then I'll be selecting people and letting you know after that. I think that's it for news this week. I had to get up to change the camera battery, and I realized the toaster is like weirdly between his bed and, oh, actually he's on a pillow. He's so strange. Like, instead of being on his bed or on the bed in general, he is on top of the mattress, on top of a purple pillow. Because you know the purple mattresses, they make purple pillows. Yeah, he's on top of all of that. He can't just be on a straight mattress. Anyway, let's talk about life. So not much going on this weekend except one big thing, which was the New Jersey Wool Walk. And I know I've talked a lot about that and shared that there's a vlog where I share like the day-to-day or the hour-by-hour, I guess, kinds of things that we did. But just to kind of share it from more of like a life perspective instead of a just yarn perspective. So Kent and I went together, which was amazing because we haven't had many opportunities since we started really working together on Knitty Natty. Kent is helping me edit videos now very regularly, and which is allowing me to do even more, which is really, really great, and also not to feel so overwhelmed. I was working so much last year, the first real year, like full-time in business, and it's been such a difference like having the help. But he actually came with me to the Wool Walk on Saturday. And so together we took the train from Penn Station here in New York City and went to New Jersey and Madison, New Jersey. And that's where we got picked up by our friends. And then from there, we just rode with them in the car to the other yarn stores. So that was really great because it was fun to actually spend the day together. Some of the other women that I met had their significant others with them. So it kind of became just like a really fun group traveling around. And it just made me like, I feel like anytime I get together with yarny people in person, I'm just reminded that it's so important to be able to gather together in person. If not in person, to be able to like get online with your yarny community. There is nobody else that understands like being obsessed with knitting and crochet and hand-dyed yarn and all of that, like this community. And it's just super fun when you're all together in one place. And so every time I do that, I just get this like yarn high almost, and I'm so excited. And I think that's probably what led me to get loose and buy lots of yarn and just really enjoy myself and have a great time. So I got to meet a few of my members in person for the first time, which was so fun. You know how much fun it is when you actually get to meet a friend that you've been talking to and chatting with and actually see them in person. It's so cool. So I got to meet Amy in person for the first time. Kat, my friend Anne was there. We get together actually pretty often, which is really fun because she comes into the city a lot. And I got to see Heather, and then I got to meet a whole bunch of other people while we were shopping. Maybe they had watched the podcast, or we just got to meet and interact. There was a guy that I met that was a designer, and we got to talk about the shawl that he was making. It was just like really smart and cool, and it was just such a fun weekend. So that's what I did literally all weekend. Saturday morning at 8:30 in the morning, we went to the train, and then we got home at like maybe 7:30, and I was like, shower, eat, bed. Because then the next day I woke up even earlier, got on the train at like, I think I left for the train like at 7:30 in the morning and went down to New Jersey again, different direction this time, going south, where at first I went west, and we hit up a few more yarn shops, but also just kind of took our time, went to breakfast, and just shout out to Amy and her husband, because they made me feel so good, took me around, showed me so much of New Jersey. We went to the yarn stores, of course, and it was just the best time. It was so much fun. So I am both exhilarated and exhausted today from all that. If you don't know me, I'm an introvert, and so I love doing things with people, but I need like time to recover. And also, like, I don't go to work every day, right? I work here in my apartment. Like, I take like 20 steps a day or whatever. So like physically, mentally, like getting on a train, going places, I'm like, how do people do that every day? It is so exhausting to be a working person out of the house. Props to all of you that do it Monday through Friday. You're amazing. I have been out of that routine for too long already, and it is exhausting, but it was so much fun. I'm trying to think. The only other thing, Kent and I did check out a new craft beer place near us on Friday night, which was really cool. I actually liked the place a lot. It had much more of a like brewery hangout on a Saturday kind of vibe than like a bar vibe, and I really did enjoy that place, so that was a lot of fun. I have not been watching quite as much because I was gone all weekend, but I did do some reading and a little bit of watching this week. I am still reading the 7th Bridgerton book. It's In His Kiss, although I am getting close to the end, and it's so good. It might be one of my favorite ones. It's Hyacinth's story, and I also don't know if it was me that convinced them, but my parents just told me they started watching Bridgerton. So I feel like I played a role in that, and my goal is just to get everyone to watch and read Bridgerton and also to knit socks. That's my goal in life right there. I did actually watch a little bit of television or Netflix on the train, because I was on the train for quite a bit this weekend, and I downloaded some episodes of The Home Edit to my iPad, because you can download things on Netflix. Hot tip if you didn't know, it's the best for airplanes. I always do it on airplanes, but on the train I was like, I won't have Wi-Fi, this will be great. So I finished season 2 of The Home Edit. It was amazing. I could have watched 1,000 more episodes. I just love that show. I also started the Abercrombie and Fitch documentary because it's new and people seem to be making fun of it on social media. So I'm like, yep, I'm gonna watch that. That's right up my alley. I did not finish it. I will finish it. I just watched, I think, half of it on the train, and I can't remember what it's called right now. Maybe White Hot or something like that. But I'll make sure I put it in the description down below. But yeah, that's what I've been watching and reading lately. Okay, I do have a win this week, and that is, I feel like it is a win that I don't feel defeated by my stash number going up. I did share a little bit of this earlier, but it's so funny, all of the things, you know, I'm talking about it every week, that I'm learning about perfectionism, and it's so funny how I think that there's a little bit of that in most of us, to be honest, because how many times do you like tell yourself, I'm gonna only knit from stash, and then you end up buying something and you're just like, oh well, I give up. I didn't make the goal, so I'm just off the hook. And I realized that that's something that I was thinking, and it's or at least in the perfectionism project, Sam Laura Brown calls it all or nothing thinking. And so I felt really good about being able to catch myself in all or nothing thinking, or maybe just like not do the all or nothing thinking. And that all or nothing would be either I'm only knitting from stash and not buying, or I'm not getting the goal done. And that is not how I set out for myself with stash this year. I did not put a limit on my buying. I can buy whatever I want. I just know that I'm not going to go crazy with that because the desire is not there. I'm so set on my goal of eliminating my stash by the end of the year that I just know what's going to happen, even with my stash going up and down. Kent was actually really sweet this weekend too, because the first day I really didn't buy that much. I actually bought a lot more on the second day when we went to we went to Grace and Pearl and saw Chelsea Luxe yarns. That's when I went a little off the chain there. But he was so sweet on Saturday when he was with me, and I was being very restrained, I feel like. He was like, you know, you should have fun, Natalie. Like, stash is gonna go up and down. Like, it's not meant to be just one thing. And that is true. Like, it's not just meant to, you know, stay the same. It's not a store stock. It is something you're using and changing, and you know, what was the right word for this? Like, your tastes, I guess, change, kind of like a wardrobe where you like things and then you don't like things, and then you find things again, and then they're like vintage and you like them again, and then you change and whatever. And so it's okay for that to go up and down and to change, you know, month on month and year on year. And there's no reason to like beat yourself up about that. So I'm going to be teaching about yarn stash on Saturday, April 30th. If you are coming to the Neon Spring event, it's going to be really fun to talk about that. But I just feel really good about that didn't even bother me for a second. I was like, this feels so different and feels so much better than before. I would have made myself feel really guilty about buying things that I liked because I said I was going to only knit from stash, because I say that I'm working on stash, and here I am trying to kind of share with people how I'm eliminating my stash. I feel like this is a great thing to share, that like, just because you're working towards a goal doesn't mean there's like ups and downs in between. Or I guess just because there's ups and downs in between doesn't mean you're not still heading in the right direction, because I do still feel like I'm going to eliminate my stash this year, and I can't wait to do it. So that is it for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm gonna go get some caffeine, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.